and I made a little bit of a discovery. So this yellow staining really kind of threw me for a loop. I couldn't figure out what on earth caused this. But when I look real close, So today was a little bit more eventful than I originally anticipated. I started my day at work, my regular day job, and I totally forgot about the septic guy coming, and I got a call. He told me he was on his way, and I was working about 45 minutes away, so I got over here about as quick as I could. I managed to make it in time. So septic, the rear house that we're in, that got cleaned out no problem. Everything went smoothly. It was great. We had the lid uncovered. The front house, we were hoping to get that located by the septic company because we were having no luck. Unfortunately, and I didn't know it was quite this bad, they couldn't flush one of their transponders down the toilet because it's the septic is so full that it just wouldn't go. So that was really unfortunate and a little bit of an eye-opener as to the amount of neglect that this property's had over the past while. It takes, they have very average sized family living in that house, so it takes quite a while to reach that level of neglect. So it's been a long time since it's been cleaned out. They couldn't find it with a probe poking into the ground. Their probes go to about 3.5 feet down. That's pretty deep for a septic. So we're assuming that it's pretty deep down, at least 3.5 feet. We followed exactly where it should be, but I do have a decent line of direction. So at some point in the very near future, because we have to tackle that sooner than later, we're going to be digging that up. So I'm going to hunt it down using alternative methods, and when we find an approximate location, we're going to start digging down. When we do find the lid, we're going to put risers on and just get the problem settled permanently. That way it's easy to locate in the future. So aside from that, we started in the basement, and let's go have a look at what we've done today. So we walk around here and it is looking nice and clean. It's all vacuumed up. I even took care of those nasty cobwebs. It doesn't look nearly as creepy down here. It's wonderful. I can hear an echo. I'm feeling positive and optimistic. Even coming down here under the stairwell, and that was a scary place, I'll tell you. It's looking way better. Way better down here. I mean, if I didn't know what else had happened in this space, I might eat off these floors. That's how clean they are. But we do know what happened, and so we won't do that. But it's looking really nice. The window's fixed. It's been raining on and off the last few days. We just had a heavy downpour, and we don't have any water coming in. So that's great. The one spot that I do still have to fix is in the cold storage here. I haven't addressed that one. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with the patio. So this one here does still drip a little bit there. You can see a little bit of the water coming in. It did rain today. So what I am kind of thinking is resurfacing it, but with more of a decorative style, maybe a flagstone or something like that. The reason being is that I could resurface it with concrete and it would just crack in the exact same location, and we'd run into exactly the same problem. I could tear it all out and re-pour it, but that might be very wasteful, and it would also be a lot of effort and could potentially run into a bit of the same issue. The reason it's happening to begin with, there's no cuts in the concrete. So typically when we do something like that, we would cut the concrete. That way we can control where it's going to crack. At the end of the day, we know for a fact the concrete will crack if it passes a certain span. It's sort of inevitable. Sometimes it cracks in ways you don't want it to, but if you do the job properly, it really shouldn't. So it doesn't have any cuts, and it's going, I want to say, probably a 20-foot span. So that's a decent amount. So it did crack, and there's not a whole lot we can do to fix that wouldn't be super visible down the road. Now, if we did do it the standard way and we cut it and sealed it properly, you would make, when you're pouring the concrete, you would actually do a center edge, is what it's called. So you would go through with this special tool, and it would actually leave a quote-unquote cut in the concrete. That's about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch wide, and you would fill that with sealant. And after it's sealed, it would still crack underneath, but you know exactly where it is, and the sealant would hold the water back. So that wasn't done. Now, if we apply a decorative surface over top of it, it privileges us a little bit because we can actually put a membrane and a waterproofing system above, and then lay our floor system over top of it, and it completely hides it, and it bulletproofs the whole thing. So that may be what we're after. So if that's the case, I'm probably going to do a quick fix on it, on the assumption that I'm going to do something a lot more permanent down the road. The only objective right now is to keep the water out of the basement, and that's the only problem left. So let's head upstairs. Coming up here, didn't get the stairs done. I haven't cleaned off the landing yet. I still have a little bit of foil left, some more reflective materials, of course. This bathroom and the kitchen hasn't gotten quite the full cleanup I've been doing so far. So that's on tomorrow's agenda. But what I have gotten done so far, thank goodness Anna got these closets. I really did not feel like doing those. So we got the living room completely cleaned up and ready for sanitizing. It's all vacuumed up, all the loose debris gone, and I made a little bit of a discovery. So this yellow staining really kind of threw me for a loop. I couldn't figure out what on earth caused this. But when I look real close, there's eggshells all over the place. This is egg on the wall. And I don't really want to know why eggs were being thrown at the wall, but they definitely were. So there's that spot, and there's a little bit more in the dining room, which I also tackled today. So over here, this was still a lot of clutter, and because I'm in a hurry to get the place emptied out so I can sanitize it, I didn't do a whole lot of sorting. So anything that was worthwhile, I stuck it in a box, and we're going to go through all that later. Probably Xana, who's going to go through all that. I left her a little present. I found a tablet and threw it in there. I don't think it's any crazy tablet, but I mean, I don't know much about them. I'm sure it's fine. So tomorrow we're going to be tackling kitchen, bathroom, and landing. And then I'm going to come into this hallway, got another bathroom, and more work. And then it shouldn't take too much effort to polish up these two rooms here. Got the bedrooms. And yeah, lots to do. But we are getting so close. But before I went, I wanted to say a couple things about the comments. I've been reading through them, and I find it really fascinating when people tell me where they're watching from. We've seen some really cool ones, and then you know, just well, Ray, edit this. So I just wanted to read you a couple that we got. We got Heather. So I just wanted to read you a couple, just so you know, our viewership, it's going all over the place and it's really cool. We've got Heather Johnston from Scotland. We got Kath, I'm assuming that's Kathy. It's Kath 1952 from Ireland. Lee Gibbs, and then Barbie from Australia. We got Carla Ioannis from South Africa. I'm assuming that from the flag. And then we got Marianne DeBreezy from New York City, Emma Jane from England. And, I'm seeing, as I go through, we got, some of the writing is in German, it's in Russian, Spanish. I got to use the little Google Translate button to read them, but, it's really cool. And then we've got Angela Langston from... Yeah, I think I got your name right. But from Sudbury, Ontario, and says, nobody ever mentions being here. I read that from a previous video, and I just want you to know, not only do I know of Sudbury, Ontario, but I've got a bit of family up there. I'm very familiar with Sudbury. But yeah, it's really cool, all these people from all over the world, they're watching this show. So either way, I was thinking, as you're leaving comments, go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind just mentioning where you're from, whether it's, Iowa or New Brunswick or, countries in Europe or wherever. It's just so cool to see where you're from. But on that note, we are done with this day. I'm very tired. So I'm gonna head in for the night, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, and we'll get on with day 17. Should be a good long day too. Till then.